December 12, 2015, Las Vegas. 13 seconds. That was all it took for Conor McGregor to etch his name into history. A left hand, and José Aldo's decade-long reign ended in silence. But what most never saw was what happened in the silence before that moment. Before all the fame and belts, Conor was a broken man who built himself out of habits no one ever noticed. Not the flashy routines or headline rituals, but the invisible ones. This is the story of the 8 hidden habits that silently transformed Conor McGregor's life. The small, sacred rituals that turned a waste from Crumlin into the king of combat. 1. The habit of microcontrol, mastering the minute details. While most fighters chase hours of grind, McGregor chases the minutes. He believed that greatness hides in the small, unseen details. He would rewrap his hands until they felt exact, lace his shoes 3 times until they were perfectly symmetrical, and rehearse the first breath he'd take before stepping into the cage. These were not quirks. They were declarations. He once said, "Control the small and the big will follow." Every repetition of the small act built a subconscious order inside his chaos. When the pressure came, the noise, the lights, the cameras, he didn't think. He was executed. Because his body had been trained to move like a ritual. No second wasted. No gesture is random. Most fighters train for power. Conor trained for precision. And when precision becomes habit, control becomes instinct. That's what made him lethal before the first punch was even thrown. 2. The habit of controlled chaos, training in unpredictability. Conor McGregor never wanted comfort even in his training. He'd walk into the gym, switch sparring partners without warning, throw himself into new drills mid-round, or train with his non-dominant hand when exhaustion hit hardest. It looked chaotic, but it wasn't. He was teaching himself to find rhythm in disorder, to fight calmly when everything around him broke down. "Most men panic when the plan collapses," he said. "I stay alive in it." This habit rewired his mind for the chaos of combat. When punches fly, when the plan disintegrates, when blood blurs vision, the fighter who can stay composed wins. McGregor didn't just practice technique. He practiced unpredictability, until unpredictability itself became predictable to him. That's why when the cage door closes, he moves like water, fluid, unbothered, dangerous. Because for him, chaos is not an obstacle, it's home. 3. The habit of emotional detachment, the calm behind the carnage. Behind the bravado, behind the suits and sharp words, there's another McGregor, silent, still, and ice cold. Before fights, he'd sit in total quiet, slowing his breathing until his heart rate dropped. He stripped away excitement, fear, and rage until nothing but clarity remained. "Emotion blinds you," he said once. "Calm makes you lethal." He understood that emotion is energy, and wasted energy is weakness. So, while others roared to pump themselves up, he descended inward, calm, detached, surgical. In that silence, his mind became a sniper's scope, steady, focused, lethal. That's why when opponents screamed or tried to intimidate, he never flinched. He wasn't fighting them, he was watching them. Because control isn't found in fury, it's found in stillness. And in McGregor's silence lies the most dangerous thing of all, peace. 4. The habit of ruthless self-observation. After every fight, win or lose, McGregor goes to war again. Not in the cage, but on the screen. He watches himself with brutal honesty. No celebration, no excuses, just slow-motion truths. He rewinds mistakes, rewatches missteps, studies his own weaknesses until he can't stand them anymore. He calls it killing the illusion. Most fighters look at highlights. McGregor looks at his flaws. He dissects his victories as if they were losses, because in his mind, they're never perfect. This ritual of self-analysis became his edge. He didn't need critics. He was his own harshest one. While others hid from their flaws, McGregor stared straight at his until they became extinct. That's why his improvement looks effortless. It isn't. It's built from thousands of moments where he confronted himself frame by frame until the illusion of perfection was gone and only mastery remained. 5. The habit of mental rehearsal through movement. McGregor didn't just visualize his victories, he performed them. He would walk into empty gyms at midnight and act them out. The entrance, the stare down, the knockout, even the celebration. Every move rehearsed not in imagination but in body language. It was physical visualization, the law of attraction turned into muscle memory. He said, "If you can picture it here and you have the courage to speak it, it will be." But he went further. He moved it. By the time the fight arrived, his body had already lived it 100 times. The rhythm, the timing, the victory. They weren't predictions. They were rehearsals. He wasn't performing when he won. He was remembering. 6. The habit of dissolving identity, always becoming someone new. Every version of Conor McGregor killed the last one. Each fight, each year, a new accent, a new look, a new walk, a new way of thinking. He refused to become a monument to himself. "Identity is a trap," he said once. "The second you think you've made it, you're done." That's why he never stayed one kind of fighter. Boxer, striker, movement artist, businessman. Every identity was temporary. He shed skins like a serpent, and with each shedding came evolution. Most people cling to who they were. McGregor burns who he was to make room for who he must become. That's not reinvention. That's survival. And survival is why he's still relevant long after others faded. Because to stay at the top, he never stopped killing his old self. 7. The habit of hidden generosity. Behind the arrogance, there's compassion that never makes headlines. McGregor has quietly funded teammates' camps, donated to Irish gyms, and sent support to fighters chasing dreams the way he once did. He rarely speaks about it, because it's not about virtue, it's about loyalty. He remembers the hunger, the cold mornings, the doubt, and he knows what a single act of belief can do. So while the cameras capture his extravagance, the real story happens off-screen, a quiet giving that keeps him grounded, connected to where he came from. For McGregor, generosity isn't about charity, it's about respect. Respect for the struggle, respect for the climb, and respect for the fighter he used to be. 8. The habit of reset, destroy to rebuild. Whenever success grew too comfortable, Conor burned it down. He'd change camps, switch locations, cut luxuries, and strip back to the basics. He called it the reset ritual of destruction, because he believed comfort is poison, and comfort kills hunger faster than defeat ever could. Every so often, he'd start again, as if he were broke, unknown, and desperate. Training in smaller gyms, sparring with new faces, eating like a challenger. Each time he destroyed comfort, he rediscovered fire. Each time he shed success, he rediscovered struggle. That's how he stayed dangerous, not by holding on to victory, but by letting it go before it held him down. McGregor's greatest habit isn't winning. It's rebuilding, over and over until there's nothing left but the fighter and the hunger that made him. These habits weren't performed under spotlights. They were forged in silence through control, chaos, calm, honesty, and rebirth. They built the edge that turned a waste into a world champion, and a world champion into a global icon. Because greatness isn't built in the noise, it's built when no one's watching, when the only opponent is doubt and the only sound is the breath of persistence. If you like this, watch the next video where we uncover the hidden habits that made Mike Tyson unstoppable.